On you go.
All right, no better call. My name is Paddy McGuee, and I'm interviewing one of the oldest men in the area tonight. Jack Murphy is his name, and if anyone wants to hear the true story of Pickett, Jack Murphy is the man, because his whole family was involved and lived up near it and all the rest. So right. We'll start the interview tonight, Jack. I suppose we'll start about the pier, like the famous and all the talk about the pier, and there's been different versions of the pier, but we're definitely going to get the perfect version tonight, because Jack Murphy lived up there and was part of that thing up there. And I suppose just to describe where the pier was, you know, the pier is in between the Tullow Road and the road between Blansford Cross and Ballypickett. It's halfway between them. It's in a quite little area down there, down lane. Yeah. And the man we're interviewing tonight lived right down at it. He was only maybe 120 yards from that pier.
That's right.
So if ever we're going to get a true version, I've got different versions of this, but we're going to get the perfect version tonight, because Jack Murphy knows exactly the version, because I was telling you before, he lived within 20 metres of it, of that place. Yeah. At this stage, I suppose, Jack, I'd have to ask first of all, what year were you born in, Jack?
1930.
1930, so we're going back a bit, like, yeah. And you have lived half your life up there anyway.
I lived Bigara. The family was there. My grandmother married a man by the name of Dan Gorman, and my mother was her daughter.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
So we were there, and when my grandmother died, she was the oldest woman in the locality at 93,
yeah.
And I was 14 at that time, so I had a fair knowledge what she used to tell me about Pickett.
Yeah, your mother lived to be 93 years of age, did she?
No, my grandmother 93.
Oh, right, yeah.
My grandmother was 93.
Right.
But she was with us, like, and my mother was her daughter.
Yeah.
So we were all there together in the one. There was two houses in Berners Grove, and the two houses belonged to Gormans.
Yeah, I know where them houses are now, yeah.
You understand?
And they're only about 130 or 40 metres apart there.
That's all up again, man.
Up against each other, yeah.
Yeah. And when my grandmother died, she was awake for 2 nights in the home place or the farmer's house, and the next day her funeral went out the back way, down by Tom Cal's, out to the Tullow Road.
Yeah.
Out, that was the right of way out that time, and the old people used to call it, they wouldn't call it a road, they'd call it a
funeral route.
What?
The funeral route.
You used to call it a car road.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever hear that?
Yeah,
we have a car, you used to call it a car road. But she went out there anyway, and back around, there was no St. Pat's graveyard, she went back around to the graveyard in Tullow.
Yeah.
Or in Ablease. Back all around.
The graveyard beside the chapel now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And people would say, why didn't you come out to the bog ridge here? Because that was the end of the road.
Yeah.
That had to be quicker and short range, but the right of way that time was down through Tom Cal's, out to where George Scully is, Tullow.
Yeah.
And my father also went out that way. His funeral went out that way, and he went back. And that was the roadway that Pickett used to use when he was the landlord. And there was near been a third one going, but I won't say anything about that.
I will talk about it later on, Jack.
Tom Cal tell you that over a pint behind his feet. I won't mention that.
Yeah, but the Gormans then would say, you were talking about two families near this pier now, this famous pier we're talking about.
Yeah.
So the two Gormans lived there, so you can tell me your mother...
That's right, yeah, and the old Gormans. That happened, but say, that pier is there over 200 years.
Over 200 years.
I say so, yeah. And I tell you in a minute when we're finished why the stories that I used to tell people, I think I told you that before there, the road that are dead. I have one aspect
so your father came from Wexford and he came to work in Bland's estate in Hampshire, and he met your mother down the dance floor at Blansford Cross.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Bernard's Grove there. Bernard's Grove was up near this pier, and you could see how they call it Bernard's Grove, because there's grove trees there. There's 2 dozen trees down there. But there's no such place really as Bernard Grove.
No, that's Drumshelly.
Drumshelly is the place.
Is the
was the town land. Why it's called Bernard's Grove, maybe Tom Cal will tell you, it's called after Bernard Pickett.
All right, there's connection back to Bernard Pickett. Yeah, well, see, when I look at Bernard's Grove, you see the grove down there, you think straight away that Bernard and the Grove, there's a connection there.
That's it, yeah. and the two houses were just up nearly up again one. And if you walked into the present day now, and Tom Carl will tell you this one, and if I said to John Day or someone, there was a house, a lovely house, attached house, 2-story house there one day. He'd say, I'm joking. There's not a sign of a house here now. You know right, Tom?
That's true,
Not a sign of a house.
Yeah.
So it's like, things are true. You'll be telling the truth, and things happened years ago, people go out of memory. Like, I drank tea and then I slept in it and then what?
Yeah, in that place there, yeah.
Attached house, in that one, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're up again, man, and we're all related, like, you
Yeah,
know.
well, I remember that house there, and there was a man by the name of Dan
Dan
Gorman.
Gorman, yeah.
And
Dan
his two
Gorman,
sisters had he.
Two sisters.
Yeah.
My grandmother's husband was Dan Gorman. And
Yeah.
every generation after that was called back Dan. Even I have a Danny Malaibo in
Your grandson,
your
yeah.
grandson, you know.
Yeah.
That's
So
what
passed
my
down.
dad said.
But now we had Dan Gorman and Bride, and was it what?
Bride and Mag and
Bride
Molly.
and So they lived where this thatched house was now, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
demolished now.
Yeah, that's the mice. No, that was their home.
But that's only about 150 yards away from where you were
That's
born.
all up again me, yeah.
And so the two of them, but
Yeah.
the pier was at the end of
The
Dan
pier,
Gorman and Mads.
I tell you about the pier now.
Yeah.
The pier was, I can still see it as I sit here now. There was a little wall running from the end of Gorman's house.
Yeah.
The gable in we call it, and at the end of it there was a pier.
Yeah.
I can still see it to this present day, there was a pier. And the reason the wall was there and the pier was, as it was dividing the farmyard from the haggard. I don't know whether Mary Whalen knows anything about haggard or not.
She does.
The haggard was the place where you trash the corn,
Yeah.
reek the corn and thrash it and put bits of it in and things like that.
Yeah.
That was called a haggard.
Yeah.
And that was up again the tree you're talking, up again our house.
Yeah.
That was the reason.
Yeah.
And the wall, the walls them times, the pier them time, people say about standing 100, 200 years. There was no thing of cement out that time, as you know.
That's right, yeah.
There was not, and the old people, my grandmother and them people, the old people used to say when they build the stones, if you put two stones over one another, they'd slip off. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
they used to put clay through the stones.
Yeah, mud and clay, yeah.
I sort of to keep
Yeah.
them from slipping.
Yeah.
So that then after years after that, then they got lime and sand, and then the cement came. But that pier is standing there over 200 years ago, and it's maybe a little bit short. He would horse.
Yeah, I see the edges of it, Jack, kind of follow.
horse
This
and
pier now is about 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
And about, would it be 3 foot wide maybe and 2
Yeah,
foot?
that's
3
right.
foot wide and 2 foot, so that's still standing there.
That's still standing to the present day, and I
and there's
think
no stone wall connecting to it right now, which
no, it's not. Tom Kahn might tell you I have a fair old memory too, but it was right in the way them times.
Yeah.
Them times. But it's not in the way of anything now because everything's gone around it.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
still standing there.
But back in the past it was in the way, Jack, was
Oh God, it's really in the way.
Yeah.
I saw a horse, what John Dave might or Tom Carr or yourself even would talk. I seen a horse running away one day with a bogey. We were drawing hay with bogies and it stuck the pier in the yoke, and we had to yoke the horse to get the bogey and the horse. You know what I mean by that?
I'm sure the shaft of the bogey stuck in the pier.
Stuck in the pier. No, the barrel of the bogey stuck in the pier. He had room. He went to go through it. The horse had room to go through it.
Yeah.
But the bogey hadn't.
No, right.
You know what I mean by that now?
So he couldn't get out through.
I'm Tom Vinty to and talk.
No, it's perfect. No, we got you.
My grandmother told me all the stories about Pickett. I was 14 years of age, and she told me the stories about Bernard Pickett. Bernard Pickett was a gentleman, a wealthy gentleman, she used to call him, or a wealthy landlord.
Yeah.
Either one or the other, whichever you like.
Yeah.
Bernard Pickett was, and he was also, maybe Mary Mitten never heard that, a tyrant. Did you ever tell of a tyrant?
Yeah.
I hear it tell of tyrants on a daily basis.
What you say?
She did.
On a daily
A
basis.
tyrant. I'd ask my grandmother, this is so as God, I used to be harmless at 14 years, well, younger, 10 years of age. Asked, what was a tyrant? And she'd say a tyrant was, she'd be very strict, she'd say a tyrant was a terrible man that would take the roof from over your head.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever hear that saying?
I'm gonna did, yeah. Yeah, you're painting the
And
picture
I'd be looking up, I'd be saying, wondering what takes the roof over your head. And I'd ask her why. And she'd say, what takes the roof from over your head? She said that why would that happen? And she said, people that wouldn't be able to pay their dues. Did you ever tell the Jews
Yeah,
that,
oh God, yeah.
that would be like rent or something now?
Yeah.
And you take the land or the and evict people. You
Yeah, absolutely. Wanted to pay your dues, yeah.
Yeah, and pay your dues. He'd come say to the landlord, you know,
Yeah. But Pickett owned a vast area, Jeff.
Pickett owned the big area all around there, and he used to go. When the old people, my grandmother said, had an ass and Crichton. They used to call it a Crichton.
Yeah.
I suppose we call it what do we call it?
Trap,
A
yeah.
trap. And he had a carriage. He had a four-wheel carriage pulled by two horses.
Yeah.
And you used to see up in a whip up in the front.
Yeah, but you owned it nearly from Blansford
He
across.
owned it all around the whole area,
Yeah.
she said.
From Blansford across the Dory Cross
Yeah,
to
up
to Lower
around the Red
Cross.
Hill. All that area.
Oh,
Even knowing that, as I told Ned Dago, the rest of them off, you own the Grady's Bog, all that area around there.
Oh yeah.
All that
And did he
area.
come back the other side of Blansford across much?
No,
Pickett?
not the other
He
side.
didn't own Paddy Max Field now.
No, none of them. No, nothing talking to do with land.
Yeah.
Mostly the other side. What we
Right.
call, what did we say the name of the place was for?
Drummerskellig.
Drummerskelly.
Drummerskellig.
Jimmy Shelley.
Ballypickett.
Bernard when he got his name from the things that happened with Bernard Pickett.
Yeah.
That's how we got his
Yeah,
name.
well, we'll get into Bernard Pickett now. Bernard Pickett, so you were saying he was a tyrant of a landlord.
A tyrant of a landlord.
Yeah.
And with Bernard Pickett, my grandmother, she knew, had a fair idea. At that age, she'd be hearing it from her younger people. And the people at the countryside were terrified of him. They were terrified of him that if you go on this road, like what Tom Cad, you used to travel these roads, and he had a terrible attitude that people shouldn't be on the road, only him. And what she used to say was, he'd yell at people, which I suppose you or me would say shout. He'd yell at people, you hop of the road.
Yeah.
Him go on with his carriage.
Yeah.
Such a domineering figure.
Yeah.
And if you want to go back to the part now about the woman there,
No, he was gentry. He allowed himself like so. He was the boss.
He was above everyone else.
Yeah, so he was traveling with had he two horses
He
pulling
had two horses
pulling his four-wheel carriage.
pulling a four-wheel carriage.
So this is where the problem started. So he may have
Yeah.
a woman. He was
He
going
may-
towards Abbealeeks.
He may have known. He was going one day. Would say where my father and mother maybe not. I don't know what that was. Down the road way, and this old widow woman was walking the road.
Yeah.
And I used to say to my grandmother, harmless as I was at that age, what was a widow woman? And she'd say a widow woman was who lost her husband and who was left maybe with a small family.
Yeah.
And in bad circumstances. Now there'd be no pensions them times.
Yeah.
Left in bad circumstances and poor.
Yeah.
So he met this widow woman, and he, as my grandmother said, he yelled at her,
Yeah.
and she wouldn't obey him. She didn't obey him,
Right.
and when she didn't obey him, he stopped the coach and the horses and got down, and he used his whip, and
Oh,
he
yeah.
brutally beat her on the side of the road. He
Right.
brutally beat her on the side of the road and left her dying.
Yeah.
Left her dying on the side of the road, and when whoever found her, or he got up in his carriage and went on his way,
Yeah.
and found her, and she put a widow's curse on him that one day the same thing would happen to him.
Right. Yeah.
You Tom, often you heard of a widow's curse.
Of course, absolutely, yeah.
Widow's curse.
Yeah,
And one day that he had the same fate as a brutal past his whole life. or
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah. He was so cruel to her on the
He
road.
was so cruel to her.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, he went to go yoke his horses. My grandmother or people
Yeah.
said, yoke your horses. Nowadays, or Tom Call's time, we'd be putting on the tackles.
Yeah.
They called it yoke.
Yoking the
You
horse,
yoke
yeah.
the horses. That's what they yoked the horses. And the horses were supposed to be turned into, what the hell? I tell you the name now, have it come to my head. Monsters.
All right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Turned it monsters.
The two horses turned into this.
Monsters, yeah.
Yeah.
And they killed the owner, the man that
Bernard Pickett.
Bernard Pickett that killed
They killed him dead.
him there. Okay, walked him into the ground, trampled him into the ground, and my grandmother would tell me the people in locality were so overjoyed that Pickett was gone out of existence.
All right. Right. Yeah.
Everything was back to normal again. He was gone out of existence.
Yeah.
And shortly after his death, to their dismay, the sound of the carriage and the horse's hooves, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Was heard in the countryside.
Yeah,
Was heard all over the countryside.
right.
And it used to pass the roadways, Tom Can, out big Gorman's, it used to pass close to Gorman's house. Right
Yeah.
beside Gorman's house.
Yeah, well, we're talking about, I saw a little roadway, Jack, up beside where you were born. There's a little track up there.
No,
That's not the track, no,
that's
beside
not
your
the
house.
what came in from the Bog Bridge, down
Yeah.
the road, came all the way from the Bog Bridge.
Yeah,
And came all the way from the Bog Bridge and out by Gorman's or some kind, out by Gorman's house.
house where the thatched house was.
Yeah.
The thatched house,
Yeah.
the old house.
And to go to the left or the right of the thatched house.
I go on for its road to lower.
To lower, all got you on up straight, yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, the Gorman people, as my grandmother told me, got so upset with this. I came every night, they heard this thing every night at midnight.
Oh, midnight was it?
And they got so upset with they couldn't go to sleep or they couldn't do this, that and the other, and they were decided they were going to leave the area.
Right.
And someone
Move over, yeah?
couldn't stick it, like, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And it wasn't Bernard Pickett in place, but it's Bernard Pickett's
Spirit, oh yeah. And there was the noise of horses now in the carriage.
You could hear the noise of the hooves, what they used to call
Oh,
the
yeah.
hooves of the horses
Horses,
and
yeah.
the wheels of the carriage.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Passing by
Yeah.
at midnight every night.
Yeah.
And someone told them there was a priest somewhere that had special powers,
Yeah.
and what my grandmother used to say was divine powers.
Yeah.
You ever hear that Tom
Yeah.
Carr? Divine powers, special powers,
Yeah.
where he, what's the word we use, Kathleen?
Vanish.
A banished spirits in his time, a special power.
Yeah. So this priest came, they called him.
They went to the priest,
Yeah.
and they told the priest their story, and the priest has volunteered, or whatever you call it,
Yeah.
to come to Gorman's house at midnight.
Right.
And the priest came, according to my grandmother's story, the priest came on horseback.
Oh
There
yeah.
were no tractors, no cars.
Cars,
Came on
yeah.
horseback,
Yeah.
and he brought with him a servant boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that?
Oh, do we? I know it's
And
like
they
that,
had,
yeah.
she'd say to me, they had a vessel of holy water. I don't know what vessel, Mary Whalen might know, I don't know what vessel was called, like a jewel. And there was something in the vessel, some kind of an instrument
Oh,
that
yeah.
you'd put down in the vessel and
Just
it
sprinkle
sprayed
the
the
water.
holy water. And
Yeah.
to this present day, that thing is still going on in the chapels. I used to Sunday.
So, yeah.
Where John Day up and got a drop from Father Joe in
Yeah.
they come down the chapel with a servant by, did that and spread it around. Did that go into the prison?
Oh, God, absolutely, yeah.
That's going on to the present day.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, going back to the priest came with his servant boy, and the servant boy held, and he put a line of, according to my grandmother, he put a line of holy water on the ground in front of the spirit when they arrived.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And he held him there, and 3 times the spirit tried to get loose. That's what you
Yeah.
use, get loose. And each time the spirit tried to get loose was the priest to put more holy water, to left or right. And by the 3rd time, the priest had a ring of holy water all on the ground,
Right.
where he held the spirit of
Bernard
Bernard
Pickett.
Pickett.
Yeah.
And then he performed his what would I say? He performed his duties or his power. And as I said about the little boy going to the pier over beyond the Haggard, he
Vanished.
He banished the spirit of Bernard Pickett into the wall for eternity. That he'd never be seen or heard roaming the countryside at Bernard's Grove again.
Yeah. Right. Unless the pier was knocked or.
Well, he didn't say anything about knocking the pier.
All
He
right.
said, for him in the pier,
Yeah.
he was there for all eternity.
Right.
There was
Right.
people said, them times, if the name of God goes out to be, but it's still people doesn't realise this, but there's still the God connection in Bernard's Grove.
Yeah.
You know what I mean by that?
Well, you may explain it to
But
me.
Tom
Yeah.
Cal's and Gormans are related. Is
Yeah.
that right, Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Murphys, I'm related to you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you're related to me.
Was it, while the name was in it, or a number of years, 8 or R, was it? Is that the way it was?
But like, was he talking about the garments?
Garments were there for
Generation.
generation. I'm the last living generation of that age.
No, Jack. Yeah. Well, this is important now. that this Garmin connection, like you said you're the
I'm the last living one. I've no uncles, no aunts that what else would you have?
First
No,
cousins.
a what?
First
First
No
cousins.
first cousins. I'm the last of the old Gorman.
all right.
There's not one alive. I'm related to Billy Gorman, which is your up in Bally. I'm the second cousin. I have plenty of second cousins. I have no first cousins alive. I have no aunts alive. I have no uncles alive.
Yeah.
All dead.
Yeah, but these were the two Garments. Now one was in detached house,
And
and the other was in the house where you were born.
Oh, the one Gorman here,
So
you know.
the Garments that was born in your house, now you're the last one generation.
And
there.
I are the last of them. There's no one belonging to the other Gormans either. I know of Mike Brider.
Well, Billy and the late Tim,
Well,
they're Garments out of the thatched house.
Aye, they're
Yeah.
Gormans over the touch house.
Oh yeah, so you showed the Garment out of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Tom Cal was asking about this glass door now. When we're talking about Pickett is locked in the
And
pier.
that was said that the servant boy would like they said at that time that only one person could see a spirit. Maybe you haven't heard that, I don't know whether he did or not.
Yeah.
The boy was supposed to see him. He was able to say what Pickett looked like when he was young. That he walked into this glass door and he was wearing this waistcoat, had a white waistcoat. He used to wear a white waistcoat according to the grandmother, and a chain across it here.
Yeah.
A chain across where you used to watch for time
Yeah.
in that.
Pocket watch.
And the boy, the what you call it, the servant boy was supposed to describe what he saw, and that was Pickett. Now,
All right.
I don't know after that like that, but he described it, which added up to Pickett. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He was saw this man going into the glass door or
We-
into the pier.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's supposed to have found going in like that, and that was the description. Now, that's what they told me.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, when Pickett was vanished to the pier,
Yeah.
the Garments had peace after had in the house, and they weren't haunted by the noise of this.
Never again, but there never again. When I used to up to now, we have land. I have Danny Gorm's land beside it there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind going over 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, and I wouldn't worry me in the lace. And Tom Carr would be saying, wouldn't worry me in the lace.
Yeah, yeah,
You know.
yeah. But is everyone the same, Tom? Do some people have a suspicion of this area?
Oh, I wouldn't think so. I don't know if anyone has a suspicion of that
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
Well, if you want to,
They wouldn't have any fear in that area.
I
Now.
wouldn't. Well, I wouldn't anyway. I don't.
Yeah.
know
I
if
would.
anyone-
Well, people with strangers might.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a good one now. Tom Kathleen Boyle told you the same. He told us here on this floor. Tom Pyle was baling hay in the field that I have now, but he was baling it for Willie Gorman.
Yeah.
Willie Gorman left the Grove and went down to
We know
down to Castleton. But this night it was getting late, and Tom Pyle was baling this hay, and next thing he heard this woeful roar, and he saw some white joke down in Dangor. You know down Peter or Tom were there down there.
I do, yeah.
And Chasey got terrified. He left the whole yoke there and flew home to over beyond. And next morning, what was there? A fucking white ass. he thought Pickett was back again.
Again, so yeah, the figure.
That's
Yeah.
what you're afraid. That right, Kathleen?
Yeah.
He often told us that here.
All right,
Because
right.
afraid, we
He's
like.
like-
You see, when you would have a fear, you would
Yeah.
you get more frightened, like.
Yeah, yeah.
It wouldn't cost me a thought to go over there this minute now.
Yeah,
and
to-
go to that pier and let me 2 hands in the pier.
Yeah, because
Because the pier is standing there the very same as it was over 200 years ago.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And I told the story, people ask me down through the years, like I say John Day or people like that. John Day didn't, but that's like that in Ballaroo and Nabley.
Yeah.
I say, Jack, tell me about the pier, Pickett's Pier. You were reared there, you know all about it. I'd say I would. I wouldn't go to the same details and tell you, I'd say I would about the Pickett being put in this pier. And they'll say to me, and Jesus, maybe you're something there. And tell it to another lad being the officer. I wouldn't believe a word of it. I don't believe a word of it, say what you're saying.
Yeah.
And do you know what answer I give them persons as
No.
I give to you tonight?
Yeah.
I say, if you don't believe it, why don't you go in with a crowbar or a sledge or a JCB and knock it down?
Yeah.
And it's there to 100 years now, and no one ever in that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know the point of my story? You know the point of my story?
Absolutely.
It's no one ever, and Tom Carroll tell you that there. You know, there's no one go in with a JCB
Or touch it.
or touch it, or nor the governments. Mick Phelan, Billy Phelan's father, or the hurler, over the Port East Road.
Yeah.
His father put up a lane 2. There was no lane 2 to Dangorm going into Tom Carroll or the government.
Yeah.
And his father put up a lane 2 for Dan Gorman.
Yeah.
He built the house, slurry pit and all, there was spec all in it up to that.
Yeah, yeah.
And the pier was right like that. The pier was like that, and he come with a lane too. And Mick Whalen had the sledge in his hand
Yeah.
to go up the pier, go hit the pier and he spoke away.
Yeah, get out of
and
the way.
Dan Gorman, they nearly had to get the doctor and nearly fell in the ground away. Then going to hit the pier.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus, don't hit that pier,
Yeah.
don't hit the pier. And the man couldn't understand what was wrong.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And the pier's still there.
Right, right. So Dan Gorman believed that you couldn't
Oh,
start
every
the
Gorman, I believe still, every Gorman and everyone associated believed it. If you don't believe it, so why not go in and knock it down?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I don't know what harm, maybe.
Did the servant run into bad health? The young lad.
He died.
The young lad that was with the priest was his Gorman and he died within a year after.
Why?
No, no,
Servant
no,
by
no,
that.
no, Grant.
Servant by that he had with him died after.
Yeah. He died out. Do you think the fact that he saw Pickett, Bernard
The
Pickett?
fact he saw
You
Pickett
are
and
tea.
I think the priest, he had to say some of the words for the priest as
Are
well.
you all
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But that time, like people say, that time, special priests had special powers.
Ah,
They
yeah.
had the powers, like.
Yeah.
I can remember, and I one time another one, like, about the holy water.
You want to go for tea, Mary?
Every house
You
that
sure?
time, every old garments, every house that time had a holy water font inside the front door. Now in Tom
I have one at home.
Then, and I stopped in garments several times, and you'd bless yourself going out in the morning, and the last thing you come in at night and you bless yourself again.
Yeah.
That was a fact. And when people that time, my grandmother's time, when they go into a different house or a new house, the first thing to do, they get a priest to come and bless the house.
Oh, yeah.
And you probably know that
Oh,
too.
God, absolutely,
They
yeah.
bless the house with holy water.
Yeah.
And that'll tell you the power of holy water. People just don't think, but the power of holy water. I often seen my grandmother, when I was there as a mother, if 200 nights then came, they'd get up and they'd spray the whole place with holy water.
Yeah, they
Harry
had a-
Tonkat.
Yeah.
But I often heard told that he used to throw fire and brimstone around the yard. You ever hear anything about that?
I did hear about that too, but that was out of the carriage.
Over the carriage.
Yeah. And there was going to be, they said if you got in, that way they got the priest was there going to be a life lost in there. There's going to be a life lost in it. Now, I heard that too, but I don't know where that really true.
But you were talking when he was a spirit and he
When he was
passed,
a spirit,
when he passing by, he pegged stuff,
Yeah.
pegged stuff around the yard.
Throw fire and brimstone around the yard.
He was the spirit of Pickett was such a domineering man. Like, he had no time for the poor.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like the old woman that
yeah,
he begged to death. They were brutal to death.
yeah.
And left her to die. He got up in his carriage, that was to say, and went on and left her to die.
Yeah.
Would it be accepted that the widow's curse was turning the horses into monsters? Was that the widow's
Yeah,
curse?
that's what happened. Yeah, up to the present day, and maybe he did too. I often heard it said it was terrible bad to interfere with a widow woman.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
but left with a small family, and
Yeah.
you often tell a widow's curse.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got it, yeah.
I always heard the old people had different things, and maybe they were right. They always said a widow curse, never get involved with a widow.
Oh, yeah.
A widow woman was then different now. They had big pensions, and but that time that nothing.
Yeah.
I tell you another one. When my mother lost her husband, and that happened back in what they said 1930,
Yeah.
1930, and you know what pension she had that time?
No, I'd say it was very small.
Half a crown.
Half a crown, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is tell you back a year before that, well, nothing. That's all she had. Half a crown.
Yeah. She was a very generous woman, your mother.
And
She lived in the lodge, like, yeah, because
Please, the country.
country, yeah, because I would have heard stories from my uncle
Yeah.
that she would have, what she would, when they'd
There
be
was often 10, 50 and maybe more people in the house playing cards, and there'd be a cake baked for the following morning or following day, and that cake would be ate before the day.
Yeah.
And we left with nothing but the next morning go, the same routine again, buy it again.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to remember your mother now,
You
you
know,
know.
yeah. She was 78 when she died.
Died, yeah, and I remember up at your house.
And as I said to you there a minute ago about lads asking me about Pickett and all that, and they say I don't believe it, and more say I do. And I say to the ones I don't believe it, go and knock it down then if you don't
Yeah.
believe it. So that means people do believe it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now.
In your lifetime, Jack, would you like to see that pier touched?
No, oh
No.
Jesus, I wouldn't. No,
No.
I would not, and I'd hardly leave him not long enough to come back to look to see. What? Grandmother used to tell me when I was young that people died years ago. This is talking with the priest now again. That they died and had a big debt left after them or done something wrong. They'd never rest in peace until that had been rectified. You know what I mean?
Until the family paid off the debt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they talked about these spirits and all that.
Oh, God, yeah. The priest had big powers in your time, Jack Horst.
Oh, big powers in my time. The holy water, I'm telling you, is.
Has strength.
I talked to my grandchildren about it, and I talked to people, what should they wouldn't hardly know about it. But
Yeah.
the holy water in Gormans, I was reared up with it. You go into Gormans and I wouldn't be living in the house. The first thing you do is dip your finger and bless yourself.
Holy water.
And you're going out at night. I'm going out at night. I go down with my mother. We went down there when my husband died. We used to go down there and ramble and go back up to the other place. And that's, if you went down in there was a step down in the Gormans, you know that, Tom. Step down in the Gormans floor. Step down in the Gormans floor. And if you went out there, I don't bless you, they call you back.
Oh, they call you back.
That's right, Tom. Call you back.
Big belief in that.
Oh, big belief.
So are you happy now with that?
We're very happy.
Yeah.
Drawn to a close.
Thanks ever so much to Jack Murphy for that.
I'm delighted to be alive to tell you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've got it as the fellow says from the horse's mouth from my grandmother.
Absolutely.
Show him that now.
Oh,
There's my grandmother.
And that's Jack Murphy.
Are you
I never
serious?
saw that, no.
That's it. That's Jack Murphy and Martin Fierce like him.
Fierce like him. Unbelievably like him.
Fierce like him.
Yeah.
Before I was confirmed,
Into chairperson. I'm on my glasses now.
there's the old woman now.
Jesus, Martin Murphy's in this picture.
Jack Murphy.
I know, she has the head of Martin, I can't believe it. That's your grandmother,
There's the
yeah?
old woman now. Now Tom Carl that was taken down under the trees in the row.
And her first name was?
Hanora.
What?
Hanora.
Hanora.
Yeah.
And your mother's first name was?
Jane.
Jane.
Called Janet after her.
Jane and Hanover, yeah. She's
Nah,
it's an unreal that you look so much like Martin.
yeah. Yeah.
Jeez, that's
I had a short trousers that time. They see the knee
Oh my
there.
God, James, you're really sticking out.
I hope you're all happy now.
We're
Anyway.
very happy, Jack. Thanks ever so much for
I
that.
think
That
we
was
should give Jack a big round of applause.
absolutely
Well done, Jack.
We thank Kathleen for the facilities and Connie
Thank
for
you
the
very
interview,
much.
Mary for the camera and myself and Thomas in the audience.